and door opens, everybody snaps to attention, and here comes Kabanda and his group, a little entourage, and they're coming down the hall, and I'm, you know, and I stand up and I put my hand out and I said, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm Carl Wilkins, the director of ADRA. And he stops and he looks at me and then he takes my hand and shakes it. And he said, yeah, I've heard about you and your work. How is it? And I said, well, honestly, sir, it's not very good right now. The orphans at Kasimba are surrounded, and I think there's going to be a massacre if there hasn't been already. Just tell them, you know. And he turns around, talks to some of his aides or whatever. He says, we're aware of the situation, and those orphans are going to be safe. I'll see to it.
The orphans were saved. Years later, Prime Minister Kambanda would be convicted of genocide by a UN tribunal.
You know, the genocide is so complicated. I was in so many positions that could have been interpreted as compromising or even collaborating with the enemy, huh? You know, who's going to believe someone who goes to court and says, well, actually, I asked Kabanda to help me save some Tutsis? Huh? Who's going to believe that? The stuff in a genocide just turns, and that's why, you know, the thing about this is we got to recognize in each one of us, there's such a potential for good, and there's such a potential for evil.
By late May, the extremists were running out of Tutsis to kill. They threatened to storm the UN sanctuary at the Hotel Milcolin. Captain Mbaye Diagne of Senegal led 600 Tutsis to a safer part of town.
And the militia attacked the convoys. And I saw individual soldiers, including Captain Mbaye Diagne, actually kicking people off because they didn't have guns. The UN soldiers didn't have guns. They were actually kicking people off and saying, you can't come up here. These people, we're saving these people.
A few days later, Captain Mbaye was driving from the hotel back to UN headquarters. He stopped at this bridge, a final checkpoint.
A mortar had landed behind his car and shrapnel came through the back window and in the back of his head. And apparently killed him instantly. They're calling around for a body bag. And there's no body bags. There's not a body bag. There's nothing left. I mean, there's nothing. And you wonder, you know, at this time we're starting to put it together and we're saying, you know, here's a guy who gave his ultimate, who did everything, and we don't even have a body bag, you know. Nothing to, you know, show him some respect. We had some UNICEF plastic sheeting, and we had some tape. You know, we're folding them up, and, you know, the creases aren't right, you know, because his feet are so damn big. You know, and you don't want that for him. You want it to be like, you know, just laid out perfectly so that, you know, when people look at him, they know that he was something great.
No one knows how many lives Captain Mbaye Diagne personally saved. At least 100, perhaps 1,000.
Captain Mbaye Diagne is one of the best officers in Miami. And the job he done here, none of us did it.
I remember bursting into tears with a colleague of his, a Senegalese captain. And the captain said to me, you're a journalist, I'm a soldier, now you've got to tell the world what Mbaye Diagne did. You've got to tell the people that he saved lots of lives. Even while the UN was shamefully pulling out its troops, you know, he was saving people's lives, and please tell the world.
We carried the stretcher into the Hercules aircraft. It was a very, very low point. Very low point. Such an incredibly courageous individual. amongst others, who were strong and courageous. But he seemed to be untouchable.
As the civil war in Rwanda was drawing to a close, the BBC's Fergal Keane was traveling with the advancing Tutsi rebels. One evening in late May, they approached the church at Nyarabuye, where more than 5,000 Tutsis had sought refuge.
Walking along, you're stepping around and stepping over bodies. Heavily overgrown. And we went down further until we came to this kind of open courtyard area where the bodies were stacked in against the walls. And it started to get dark, and then we went into the church, and there was no light in the church itself. You're walking around the dark, and you suddenly, the light points here, and you see a kid's body. And you know it's a kid because he's wearing his khaki school uniform. And he's lying there, and his head's been bludgeoned away. Then down in another corner, there's a man, his body lying there. As we're coming out, we hear noises. Noises from one of the rooms. And I got very, very scared. And one of the drivers with us, a Ugandan, said, "Don't worry, it's only rats. Rats." And we left, and I just remember looking up at the church itself, and there's this white statue of Christ standing with his arms open. And then as you look down from him, there's the remains of a human body underneath. And I was raised as a Catholic, and I kind of drifted away big time from religion, but I prayed so hard. I said, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Give us thy kingdom come." I needed to believe in something. I think going to Nyarabuye, seeing what had happened there a few weeks earlier, and coming face to face with a human capacity for evil on a scale I just hadn't imagined. You can imagine it in your mind, but until you experience it and smell it, until you walk there, then that changes you. But I don't welcome the fact that I was changed. We heard that there were survivors, and we got to the mayor's offices, the offices that had been used by the man accused of leading the genocide. And we walked in, and sitting on the ground were this woman and I think 2 children, and one of the children, she looked in the most terrible state. We could see that her hand was black, being hacked away. And there was a wound on the back of her head as well. The nurse was trying to dress the wounds, and this child looked. I looked at that kid and I said, "She's not going to make it. There's no way." The kid's name was Valentina.
I felt a lot of pain, because my fingers had been chopped off and my head had been cut. I was very sad because my family was all dead. I didn't think I was going to survive.